So raise your hand if you hate self-help books. I'm still gonna recommend a few to you in this video anyway. Well, fingers crossed that my hair under this hat does not look too crazy. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Bougie Black Girls YouTube channel, or welcome if you are new. My name is Dana, and we are trucking along with our consistent posting through December, through Vlogmas. Like I said, a lot of what we're gonna do this month on the channel is going to be holiday focused, but I also kind of want to tap into the side of things for a few videos where people may be thinking ahead to the new year and thinking about the things they want to change in life and the type of person they want to be in this next chapter, next season of, I don't know, the human experience or whatever. Throughout the month of December and January, there's going to be a lot of content, I think, that's thrown our way just by nature of the algorithm that's going to be in this self-help, self-improvement genre. And it can be very much a scheme set up by Todd because it is just very rude and dismissive, and it sort of makes you feel like the person that you have been up until this point, you know, isn't of value and isn't worthy. And typically that's why I don't like it, and I try to stay out of that genre. But kind of like all things in life, I think that there is some goodness in there. And so through my process of sort of eating the meat and spitting out the bones when it comes to consuming like self-help books and recommendations, I wanted to provide you guys with 3 self-help books or like self-help adjacent books in 3 different categories that I have personally found helpful and that are a little bit less about like you aren't good enough and a little bit more about here's how we can leverage your experiences and sort of your mentality to get you to that next level, whatever that looks like for you. So if that sounds like something that is useful to you or that is helpful to you, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and let's dive into it. So the first book in the first sort of category that I'm going to recommend is for anybody who is in a creative job or just has any goals for the upcoming year that is related to, you know, creativity and using that side of your brain and your personality. And that is going to be The Artist's Way. Now, anybody who has been in the creative streets for long enough has probably heard of this book. Some of us have probably looked at it with an eye roll. I was a part of that group up until this past year. And I really kind of became aware of the book when it kind of had a resurgence in popularity after Doechii talked about how it was a big part of her creative process and her creative recovery. But I have to say, after really kind of going into it with an open mind and giving it a chance, it really proved to be a useful book and a useful tool for me. Essentially, the book is a 12-week program that has different prompts and exercises that you do throughout that time that really allows you to tap into your why and tap into maybe some of the areas that are keeping you blocked and are stopping you from sort of moving forward in whatever creative project that you are pursuing. And you can find a ton of people on this app and on other apps sort of like recounting their process with the book. I will say that 2 of the activities that I found both the most difficult and also the most valuable were the morning pages as well as the artist dates. So morning pages essentially is exactly what it sounds like. Every day, and I do mean every single day, you get up and before you kind of dive into anything of substance, you write 3 pages of anything. And that sort of allows you to kind of declutter your mind and maybe also get some of those good creative juices flowing to dive into work, dive into your own pursuits, whatever it may be. And then artist dates, and the book kind of walks you through this process, but an artist date is essentially a once a week meeting appointment that you make with yourself where you kind of go out into the world or do something at home that feeds your inner artist. And that can be something that you enjoyed doing as a child. It can be something that you've never done before. It can be big, it can be small. And all of these little activities are just supposed to jog your memory and bring an out of the norm experience into your weekly life that will hopefully serve as inspiration to you. And the book really talks about how life in and of itself should be an inspiration to the creative work that you do. I do kind of want to give the disclaimer because it was a little bit unexpected to me. The book has a lot of spiritual and religious undertones, and I know a lot of people are turned off by that. I think in the beginning of the book, it does sort of give you ways for you to frame that, or sort of like frame that thinking if you are not a particularly religious or spiritual person. But I do think that there is value in the exercises and sort of like the overall foundation of what the book is presenting to you, even if you are not a super spiritual person. So it has been very helpful for me and my creative journey. It has definitely helped with a lot of the burnout I feel as somebody who has a job that dabbles in creative spaces and then also is going through this content creator journey and hopes to produce films one day. Like, it really helped me remember why I want to do the things I want to do, and it definitely helped me push past some of the feelings of like emptiness and create for the sake of fun and creating and doing what I like to do. The second book I'm going to recommend is in the financial category, and this is for anybody who has monetary or financial goals for 2026, which I think is a good chunk of us, and that is going to be Get Good with Money by Tiffany Aliche. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing her last name right, but particularly if you are a Black woman, you have probably seen Tiffany Aliche's face somewhere. She had like a really big boom, I think, either right before or right after this book came out a couple years back. And I've come across her on a few podcasts and television shows, kind of just talking about her relationship with money and debt and getting out of debt. And I think that she provides a very real, a very kind of sisterly approach to getting better with money and managing your resources. And I think that is very desperately missing in the financial space. Most of the financial gurus that I see online, and YouTube may punish me for cussing, but are assholes. And that to me is just not a effective way to get people to change their behaviors and change their habits. I think that there's a difference between having tough love conversations and borderline verbal abuse. And I don't think that shame is a good emotion to evoke when you're trying to get people to change their behaviors and their long-standing habits. My personal 2 cents, totally fine for anybody who doesn't agree. But if you're somebody who kind of has a similar school of thought to me, I think that Tiffany's book is the way for you to go to kind of take the steps that you need to reacclimate and replant yourself in a journey to be the financially healthiest version of yourself that you can be. The book I think is great for people who consider themselves beginners, but I also think it's really great for people who, like me when I first came across this book, wouldn't have necessarily classified themselves as a beginner, but kind of went through a very personally chaotic period when it came to finances and was looking to sort of hit the reset button and get back on the right path after, falling off the horse. But yeah, money and debt and lifestyle creep is something that I talked about on this channel a lot for 2025, more than I originally intended to. And it's something that is still on my mind, and it's a journey that I'm still on in 2026. But I'll link one of my videos above if you kind of want to learn about my thoughts and how I address some of my issues with lifestyle creep. And yeah, I definitely recommend checking out this book because it was a really big part of me getting in the right mindset. And last but certainly not least, we have a very interesting addition to this list, and it is a book called The 12-Week Year. Now, I say that this book is an interesting addition for me because I did not enjoy the process of reading this book. Like, the first 2 books on this list, I actually enjoyed reading them and working through them and doing the exercises. I don't think that The 12-Week Year as a book is well written, but I will say that the contents of it and the concept that is being presented in the book is very valuable and is very useful. So I will say read it with the caveat that if it feels like the book is kind of dragging and it's difficult, to me personally, it's okay to skim some of the fluffier sections because it is pretty easy to get to the root of what it is trying to show you. But essentially, at a bird's eye view level, the book is really about compressing a year's worth of goals into 12 weeks, which is typically 3 months, and getting you to move through some of the things that you want to accomplish throughout the course of an entire year with a little bit more urgency. I think a year can seem like a very long time. And so for a lot of people, myself included, we kind of drag our feet and don't really get started on our goals in the way that we should. But by compressing things down into 12 weeks, you are able to create a sense of urgency but still have enough time to accomplish things, and you can be pleasantly surprised with what you can accomplish in 12 weeks. And yeah, I think that this is an approach that is really effective for someone like me, which I know a lot of you on the channel who have been following for a while have a similar mindset, where I tend to be spinning a lot of plates just because I've got, you know, things I'm doing in my 9-to-5 job. I've got things I'm doing in the creative space. I've got things that I'm doing in my, you know, part-time work as a fitness instructor. And all of those things are really important to me. And so it's really hard to move towards what the finish line is for each of those categories without any sort of clear direction and a clear sense of urgency. So the process of like plotting out those goals on a calendar, which we are going to get into in tomorrow's video, really kind of helps me feel like I am driving and working towards who I want to be and the things I want to get done. And it's also a really great practice in looking back at what you've accomplished before the year is up. So we'll dive into all of the details of that in tomorrow's video. Definitely make sure you subscribed if you want to kind of stay in tune with that. We're going to combine that with my 2026 vision boarding. But yeah, I think that in that sense, the book is helpful, and probably of the three on the list, the most helpful tool that I have right now. So yeah, final thoughts. Yeah, like I said, I'm not a self-improvement girly. I don't think I will be engaging with many, if any, more self-improvement books coming into the next year. But even amidst all of the nonsense that I think is the cult of self-help, there are a few gems that I think are applicable for people who reasonably, you know, want to just elevate in areas that make sense. So these 3 books were helpful for me in that process. If you have come across any that kind of sit in a similar space, please feel free to drop them down below and share them with the community. I think that would be really helpful as people are starting to plan for 2026 and beyond. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. If you enjoyed the video, if it was helpful to you, that's very helpful to me. Still in the early days of this channel, we've had a lot of growth in 2025, which I am thrilled about, but we can always do better. Be sure to follow me on socials if you want to keep up with me there. And I will see you tomorrow for the next Vlogmas video. Bye.